Now this right here is what's called a pipe cutter, but I like to call them iron parrots. They allow you to chop PVC pipe in record timing. Typically what you do for something like a pipe, like PVC pipe, is that you take a hacksaw, cut and hack all the way through that for like several excruciating painful minutes. Or you just take an iron parrot and it does it all for you. After that's done, we can get to the fun part. I think there's some merit to that because hot glue is, oof, goodness. Greetings, adventurers! Welcome to the Boxsmith Show Live. I have a fun day planned for us today. Today, I'm going to be showing you something that a lot of you have been asking me to teach you for a while now, and that's how I make spines for things made out of cardboard. So over here, what I have before us is a working progress of a Chinese Dadao, if I'm saying that correctly. It's basically half of a longsword. That's kind of a work in progress I have right here. And I figured it was the perfect thing to use to teach you guys how to make good spines for cardboard props to give them nice durability and rigidity. Then after we're done with that, then we can go ahead and make it all nice and detailed and everything. And by the end of either this stream or the end of the streams for this week, we'll have a nice, meaty looking, heavily detailed cardboard Dadao. And that's going to be a fun time. So I'm very excited for that, for cardboard. Now, there are many different mediums that you can use for a spine, but for those of you who aren't familiar, a spine is any item that you use to put inside of a cardboard prop to give a greater durability and strength and all things like that. And in this particular case, we're going to be using one of my personal favorite types of spine to use, which is this stuff called PVC pipe. And there are different things you can do with it. For doing things like the katana I made last stream, what I did was I cut one of these in half entirely, and then I took a heat gun and flattened it out and warped it, since a katana blade is very thin and narrow. But a Dadao is a little bit thicker, so I think we'll be fine just using the whole half-inch pipe here. Now, when making a spine for a cardboard prop, the first thing that I generally do, as a general rule of thumb, I look at the entirety of the prop, and I think to myself, are there anything at the end or at the beginning that need to be able to close and fold up all the way? And in this case, there's actually that on both sides. We have to be able to close at the seam, the top piece here, and also the very bottom over here. So that basically means that the spine pipe can't be longer than the entirety of the blade. It has to be a bit shorter. In this case, I think we can get away with it starting about right here because we want to have a complete handle. We can just fill in cardboard for the gaps for this part. So having that in mind, then what I would do is take the actual spine, in this case our lovely PVC rod here, and I would figure out where that starting point is. In this case that's, oops, in this case that's right here. And then mark off with like a pencil or something where it is that I want the end point to be, which in this case is about right here. PVC pipes are arguably my favorite thing to use as a spine when I'm boxsmithing, and ironically, it also comes with one of my favorite tools for cutting. Now this right here is what's called a pipe cutter, but I like to call them iron parrots. So I call these iron parrots, and basically what iron parrots do is that they allow you to chop PVC pipe in record timing. Typically what you do for something like a pipe, like PVC pipe, is that you take a hacksaw and the proportional strength of an Olympian god and like cut and hack all the way through that for like several excruciating painful minutes. Or you just take an iron parrot and it does it all for you. Observe. Let me line up again where I said we're going to cut this. It's from about right here all the way to about right there, yes, at the top of that barcode. So this is where we're going to make the chop. We take our iron parrot, we feed into the mouth, and it's a ratcheting system. The more you squeeze the handle and release it, the deeper it goes, and you just let it chop all the way through like that. Just no matter what medium of crafting you're doing, it's always good to have a little bit more that you need to cut off and have too little that you cut off. And in this case, we got it. Today I am showing everyone how to make proper spines for cardboard props. So I have an unfinished Dadao here that I've been working on, and we're just using that as a perfect opportunity to give the lesson for. So we just chopped off this little bit of the PVC pipe. We're not going to be using this for the remainder of this build, so we're just going to cast that aside. And this other half of it, which I've also cut out, they're a perfect mirror. This is the general strategy I use with all of the swords and things that I make with spines, is that I cut out the one and then I make a duplicate. We want to do from this point is make sure that we've got the pipe completely aligned with the path that we want it to stay on. Considering that this pipe is going to be the spine, but also the handle for the PVC, we want to make sure that's complete and uninterrupted path all the way through, which it looks like it is, which I really like to see. So that being said, now we've marked that out, we're going to take our trusty hot glue gun, hot glue stick, ready at bay, because we're going to be using a lot of it, and the quicker we can change that in and out, the better, I say. So with that, we're just going to move the PVC pipe to the side, keep it directly next to it so we know just how far we're going. There's no need to run all the way through, because what we don't want to risk is the glue drying midway and not having too strong of a hold. So at this point, we're just starting only with the handle. Press it on down. I have actually clamps that I use sometimes to make the job easier, and just hold that in place. And just hold that in place and let the glue do its thing. Now that we have half of the sword already done, so we're going to put down this piece, and we're going to pretty much do the same thing we were just doing, but in reverse, which means we're adding glue to the pipe this time versus the cardboard. Just going to dab on the hot glue there, run it all the way down, and you've got about 15 seconds of wiggle room before it dries, so take that, press the top piece on top, make sure that it's nice and even on both sides, and then from there you just press it down and make sure that's all nice and secure. Generally, it's a good rule of thumb to not put the detailing pieces on until this process is done. Fortunately, I forgot, I did think ahead and only put a temporary adhesive on the detailing pieces here. I used some Scotch blue tape. Since it's so comically large and I have low ceilings, I made it so that it breaks in two along the part where the staff meets the bottom of the actual blade. Staff is significantly less interesting than this baby right here. And I am quite proud of this baby right here. I think there's some merit to that because hot glue is, oof, goodness. I think there's some merit to that because hot glue is rather forgiving as far as adhesives are concerned. If you mess up as a tougher adhesive that like instantly bonds or something, like it's going to be messy because you've got all those strands and it's stringy everywhere, but you've got a long enough window to separate what you are gluing together before the two pieces completely bond. And like I said earlier, to get rid of all those strands and things like that and all that wasted hot glue, you can just take like the hot tip of your hot glue gun and just run it along those things, and then you've got glue to use and you can add more to it if necessary. So excited to think of what kind of detailing we're going to do for this particular sword. Detailing is such a fun process. It adds so much to what's otherwise just a very basic cardboard sword. And sometimes detailing doesn't have to be very crazy either. Like sometimes just something as simple as a wrapped handguard can make all the difference in a prop sword looking from bland to incredible. Because the thing is less about how many things are on it, more about what specifically is on it. Because if you look at like most traditional ancient weapons, they look cool, not because they're overly detailed, but kind of like just because they look so cool. And with cardboard, being a boxer like myself, I don't really use paint or anything like that, so I have to find other different ways to make it stand out, make it pop and things like that. The only cheat to my no paint rule is I occasionally use things like black Sharpie to add like little things in black for like detailing, things like that. But aside from that, I prefer to play with the, dimensions and make it pop with like 3D elements and things like that. So things like adding extra layers to its handguard, or things like carving into the blade itself to make interesting figures and things like that. Since this doesn't use the entire length of it, we can actually recycle the rest of this. And if I'm doing my math correctly, there should be just enough to wrap in the opposite direction perfectly. So we don't need to cut another flap off somewhere. After that's done, we can get to the fun part. Or rather, you can see how it's really, really cool. Because if you thought that was neat, wait until we do this. Now the reason we go at an angle like that, which is only one direction, is because we can take another couple strips like this and simply go in the opposite direction. Right on top of the first part where you started, make it look like a cross. Maybe take my scissors, which apparently fell earlier, trim its shape down just slightly. These are fabric scissors, which are a lot tougher than your standard scissors. Rejoice, my dear adventurers, we have finished the Dadao. And my mind, does it look lovely? Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? We finished all that detailing in one stream. I'm very proud of us. Isn't that awesome? Got the handle nice and wrapped with the detailing, things like that. It looks super cool and everything like that. I'm super happy with how this came out. It looks really nice. Nice two-handed I think, Chinese longsword. Got a couple of people I know who are like historical weapon buffs and things like that. I've got an editor now, which is really cool, so you'll see these streams like chopped into VODs on YouTube later on. And I will see you in the next one. Jeb out.